Liverpool submit a £95 million bid for €95 million bid for Hugo Ekitike is expected to be a total package higher than this. There is still speculation about the situation with Alexander Isak. We're going to talk about that live, but as confirmed by Sam C Reports and Ben Jacobs a few hours ago, Fabrizio Romano and now David Ornstein have confirmed that Liverpool have submitted a brand new €95 million bid for Hugo Ekitike. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing. Let's talk about this deal. Let's go. Good evening. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. A massive, a mammoth, a gargantuan bid. We're a record-breaking bid for Liverpool. It would be the most expensive striker in their club's history. And according to David Ornstein tonight, the outline of an agreement has been made between Liverpool and Frankfurt for the proposed transfer of Hugo Ekitike. Before you go any further, please hit like buttons for us. Make sure you are subscribing. Make sure the bell notifications are turned on. It's very, very important to the platform that you do that for, especially the bell notifications. But get liking, get yourselves subscribing, and we have got to jump into this news right now. The article here says work is still needed to formally get the deal complete. And that is expected in the next day or so. It says if all add-ons within the impending move are realized, there is optimism at Frankfurt that they would represent a club record fee, surpassing the 95 million euros, 82 million pounds achieved when Kolo Muani went to Paris Saint-Germain in 2003. It says here, the Athletic reported on Thursday that Liverpool were advancing in talks for Ekitike with personal terms not expected to be an issue. That means they're agreed. It says here that Newcastle previously saw a 75 million euro offer for Ekitike turned down, and after calling their interest in the 23-year-old, began considering Brentford's Wissa as an alternative. Liverpool had also contacted Newcastle over the potential signing of Isak, indicating their willingness to do a deal in the region of £120 million. The Anfield club have been prioritising a striker this summer, and while sensitivities remain understandably high following the tragic death of Diogo Jota earlier this month, there is an awareness that needs to be made. There is an awareness they need to make further additions after buying Wirtz, Frimpong, and Kerkez. It goes on to talk about their other deals more so than this one. It breaks down what Ekitike has done in his career. But this is a massive bid. It's a massive bid, not over 95 million in totality. They believe it's going to cost. And look, you're not getting far away. You're getting you maybe 40 odd million shy. I wonder how high this is going to go. You're touching on 100 millions. You're not getting far away from what Liverpool are prepared to pay for Isak. So that's a very, very interesting one indeed. A lot of you in the comment section are saying that that is crazy money. And I do get why you would say that. But as VK Dino here says, that this player has got massive potential to get to the very, very top of the game. I don't think that can be denied in any way, any shape, or in any form. I want to check one thing here. Hang on. Reactions, timestamps. What is that? Just trying to see if I could change your usernames. There was an option for it. I can't, but there we go. Anyway, sorry, I was just trying to see. I was trying to see if I could change the usernames because they're so frustrating. Why Isak not at the Celtic game? His head turned and he's unhappy at Newcastle now. Ha ha ha. Look, I still maintain what I've said the whole time. I'm not saying there will be a sting in the towel. I say there could be one. It's such an interesting situation. It truly is, Phil. But Liverpool are pushing on ahead with this deal. As and when they get that total agreement, players on board, Frankfurt are on board. I'm intrigued to see what they do in that moment. Will they just trigger it, get the player in, move on from Isak? There are rumors, there are stories that they may try to sign both. But I saw a tweet earlier from a Newcastle fan, friend of the show as well, Kendall Rowan. And I do kind of get this a little bit. She says here, respectfully, if you're spending 82 million on Ekitike, it might be more than that. Offering 120 million for Isak was borderline insulting and hilarious. And I happen to agree. If you're willing to go, let's say it goes as high as 85 to 90 million pounds, there's no way Ekitike is only worth 30 million less than Isak, unless they don't believe there's too much of a difference. Unless they believe that Ekitike is going to come in and in a much better team with the coaching of Arne Slot, he can get 20 league goals a season almost straight away. Therefore, you can understand the offering of that amount of money. So quite a few Newcastle fans frustrated and angered by this bid that has come in. But, and I want to say this because I think it's important to point this out, really, because I think a lot of people have forgotten about this. But Liverpool are in a win-win situation here. I've seen so many stories talking about Newcastle have sold them down the river. They've done them over. They've made them overpay for an average player. I've seen so much copium from Newcastle fans, from Man United fans, from rivals of Liverpool, like they're doing a bad piece of business here. Hugo Ekitike at 95 million euros is going to seem a lot of money to many a football fan. Liverpool are, of course, going to get banter for this. Why? Well, we all know the reasons why. Because of Jurgen Klopp. Liverpool fans don't get triggered, but you know that's the truth. Because Jurgen Klopp for years bemoaned the spending of other clubs and said Liverpool can't and would never do it. There was often these notions that came out of Liverpool that it was offensive to the working class roots of the country and the surrounding area of Liverpool to spend hundreds of millions of pounds on players all the time. It wasn't kind of part of their club and their culture. And we all knew at the time that was just nonsense. Whatever the reasons were for not spending, I don't think it had anything to do with those reasons. And that's why you're seeing Liverpool fans so joyous this summer. The speed, the amount of money that's being spent, the players they're chasing. And I must have seen this tweeted a million times in my comment sections, hundreds of times. Finally, this is as if I'm a Liverpool fan talking. Finally, we are acting like the giant club that we are. And you're seeing that that's just far and wide. That conversation's being is happening. And Liverpool fans are right to say that because they've always been a giant club. They've always been a rich club, but they're kind of yielding that axe with regularity. So, of course, you're going to get a lot of saltiness. You're going to get a lot of rivals that are angry because the one thing that we could always count on Liverpool doing, no matter how good their team become, they didn't continue to build upon that. They wouldn't go, right, we've just won the league or we've just won the Champions League. Let's go out and buy the very best players that money can buy to keep growing the squad. We've lost a brilliant player in Trent. Well, let's go and get one of the best right backs from Germany. We need a new left back. Let's go get one of the best in the Premier League. We need some more attacking midfield options. Let's go and get one of the best attacking midfield players in the world. They tried to sign one of the best strikers in the world in Isak. If that can't happen, we're going for Ekitike, who is the closest player probably in European football stylistically, profile-wise, to that of Isak. And they've gone on, they're going to get him. They're getting him for big money, yes. But top quality players that are young with huge potential have always gone for big money. And that's why I'm not scoffing at Liverpool here. I'm not laughing at Liverpool here. I remember Manchester United spending £27 million in 2004 on Wayne Rooney. That equates with the inflation within football. Don't do the inflation based on the growth of money in general society. You've got to look at the growth of money within football in its own ecosystem. That Wayne Rooney deal is over £200 million now, as an example. And you can go through the history of the Premier League and you can look at the biggest clubs and look at the money that's been invested in young players, 18, 19, 20, 21, who are tipped to go on and be the best, it's always been massive amounts of money. So for me, I would be a hypocrite as a Man United fan to attack Liverpool behaving in this way when it's something that I celebrated my club doing. I think when you're a club like Liverpool that has its money because of the history, the fan base that is built over decades and decades and decades of success and brilliance and excellence, they're spending their hard-earned money. They're spending that success in many ways. So there is no qualms my end in what they're doing. I think Hugo Ekitike is a phenomenal player. Is he at the level right now of Alexander Isak? No. Does he have the potential to get there? Of course he does. Absolutely. Now, I do think Liverpool's bid for Isak was undervalued. I do think £150 million is fair for the quality he possesses, and he's still got the best years ahead of him. But I think this is a decent price for a player as good as Hugo. And for everybody that's laughing, for everybody that's putting Liverpool down, for everybody that's attacking it, all you're actually doing, in my opinion, and listen, I hope you're right, and I hope it flops. I'm a Man United fan. I don't want it to work, okay? This is where I don't want to be right, okay? And me being right is less... Actually, I want to be wrong, okay? Because I don't want this to work. But I think everyone that's attacking this deal, too much money, how are Liverpool behaving, being salty about it, all you're doing is setting up future disappointment for yourself. Get on board, accept who Liverpool are, respect how good this young talent is, respect... Because a few days ago when Newcastle were going to get him, it was seen as, oh my God, Newcastle were going to be this massive threat with Isak and with Hugo Ekitike. Now suddenly Liverpool are getting him, and it's, overpaid, young, not proven, not done it in the Prem, barely played internationally. Now, if you had the same reaction to Newcastle getting him as you do Liverpool getting him, then fair enough, you're being consistent, and I'm not talking to you, so you don't need to get angry. You don't need to react. But it's the people I can see right now in my live comment section. It's the people I know I'm going to read in the comment section later. Change their tune in the space of a week. Hugo Ekitike is excellent. I'm jealous that Liverpool are getting him. He's a phenomenal talent. He's going to be an even better player. And this summer, Liverpool Football Club have been moving on a different level. It has almost felt illegal. It's painful, and I want it to stop. I really want it to stop. For me, I'm sort of heartbroken by it because I know how good Liverpool are. They're very much one of the best teams in the world. There's no doubt about that. They won the Premier League. Like, I think when you win the Premier League, typically speaking, at that point, you're one of the best teams in the world. Especially when you've competed for it regularly over numerous years, when you've been picking up great Champions League runs, Champions League wins, winning domestic trophies. When you add the whole caboodle together, one of the best teams in the world, hands down, no debate, fantastic. But as I said 5-6 minutes ago, Liverpool always had this habit of looking good and not adding enough to it, letting the team age out a bit. I always remember back to when they had... There's this bit of a myth that goes around that Liverpool didn't have great teams or even very good teams when Gerrard played. They did. And they had this point where they had this midfield of Alonso and Gerrard, and it was phenomenal. One of the best in the Premier League, without a doubt. And they had other great players in that side at the time as well. And I remember them trying to force out Alonso to sign Gareth Barry. And it just used to... I've got brothers that are Liverpool fans. Some of my best friends are Liverpool fans. And we all lived together at the time at this big house share we rented in East London. And I remember just going, this is just great. You guys are starting to challenge. Every year we're getting better and better. You'd won a Champions League a few years earlier. You were in title races. You were always going deep into the Champions League. You had this brilliant midfield. And Alonso wasn't even trying to get a move to Real Madrid at the time. But it kind of... And that Liverpool sort of did that thing on such a regular occurrence. And even when they became good, as much as it hurt, I always sort of knew that Liverpool were going to essentially kind of mess it up again, if that made sense. Sort of mess it up again, make a mistake, ruin it. But that isn't happening now. That isn't happening now. Liverpool have dealt a crushing low blow to Newcastle in terms of taking such a massive talent away. But they're also they're not just making transfers. They're making these massive statements. They're throwing down these huge gauntlets to Manchester City, to Arsenal. And they're saying, can you match us? Can you beat us? Can you do the same? And right now, I think Arsenal were gearing up for a very good window. City started very well with Cherki, Reinders, and Ait-Nouri. But they've both got to do more. If they want to win that Premier League, they've got to buy more. They're moving crazy. Absolutely. And you can tweet abuse. You can laugh at how much they're spending. You can slag it off. You can bring up old Klopp quotes. You can do all these things. But that's just denial. You're in denial of what... And I'm not talking about the river that's in Egypt. You're in denial. I'm just not. So people have asked me, Terry, why... People will ask me, Terry, why are you sticking up for Liverpool? You're a Man United fan. It's not about sticking up for Liverpool. It's not about protecting Liverpool. I'm actually protecting myself. I'm protecting myself from the massive dump emotionally that I'm going to get if I delude myself into thinking this is overpaid, the player isn't ready, it's an overhyped summer, they're not going to be much better next year. I would rather believe they're going to be brilliant, because I do, and I do believe that. I'd rather believe that and be pleasantly surprised and happy when I'm wrong than to delude myself, labor under an illusion that it's all too much money, they're not good enough, they're going to flop, they're going to go backwards. That feeling 10 games in when they've won fucking 9 of them, I don't want to feel like that. I'd rather just own it now. What Liverpool are doing is crazy. Hit the like and the share button, please. Leave me your comments below. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you feel. Damn you, Liverpool. Damn you. We're going to go to some of your comments that are coming through in just a moment here. We had a few super chats to jump on and speak about. Do you think there's a chance that Liverpool are going for both? We need more than one striker, Darwin and potential Diaz leaving. Also, we lost DJ, rest in peace. Look, there is definitely the possibility, and I think people know me well enough to not be offended by what I'm about to say. There's a likelihood that insurance has given you additional money as well. Most football clubs have insurances against their players that pay out and cover, because obviously you're still going to pay Jota's family his wages. The club's done that out of the kindness of their heart, but they also have insurance policies in place to ensure they're protected for these types of things. So financially, and this is at the risk of sounding callous and horrible, and that is not my intention, there'll be additional money. There's a sale of Darwin and potentially Diaz as well. Although where Diaz is going to go now, I'm not too sure, because Barcelona are signing Marcus Rashford. But, and thank you very much, Liverpool, for helping with that one. Financially, there is a chance. And Newcastle are the only reason that I still feel there's a chance that Isak could leave. What they said today about protecting their player, I don't understand. The world's media is not that friendly. No one cares that they even got beat 4-0. Unless you're a Newcastle fan or a Celtic fan, you weren't watching it. Who are they protecting him from? I saw a statement that said they were protecting him from prying eyes and cameras. What, you mean the cameras that will just follow him around anyway? It doesn't make any sense. And maybe they just made a mistake. It's a PR disaster. But it's crazy. There's always a potential. Until the player comes out and says he isn't leaving, until Newcastle categorically say he's not leaving, not we hope, we're not planning to sell him, he isn't for sale, it would take stupid money. Until they say 100% he's staying, it's open. This here from Guys, he says, nah, Terry, I'm sorry, Ekitike has potential, but 95 million for 15 German league goals is a madness. If we did it, everyone would laugh. I assume you're an Arsenal fan when you say that, but it's about looking at the potential. And I think Wayne Rooney was a better player at this age than Ekitike. And in fact, Rooney was that little bit younger. But Wayne Rooney had only scored I know he'd gone and had a good Euros as well, to be fair. But Man United were looking to buy him before his Euro 2024 performance. So it almost becomes irrelevant. He only had 15 Premier League goals when Man United bought him for what was, I think, at the time, a record fee for a teenage player. So we have to recognize this. And it was a huge amount of money. How old is Ekitike? He's probably 2 or 3 years. I'm assuming he's 2 or 3 years older as well. So there is more experience in there. And if by the way, if Rooney was another couple of years older, how old is Ekitike? He's 23. He's a lot older. He's 5 years older. So Wayne Rooney at 23, do you want to, for me, would have been worth so much more money. And just to put that into context, right? Because Ekitike can play the 9 role, and I think he can develop more into it. But he drops into pockets, he drops into spaces, he's brilliant with the ball at his feet. You mentioned 15 Bundesliga goals, right? So the season before that, he only played 14 games, got 4 goals. You know, he's got 41 league goals in his career, I think 50 in totality. But this is a player that's developing. And now I know Wayne Rooney was brilliant, but Wayne Rooney wasn't scoring a colossal amount of goals 2 or 3 or 4 years into his Man United career. I'm telling you, at 22, 23, he'd have been sold for double this, 3 times this. The reason why I'm bringing it up as an example, now Wayne Rooney is, I use him because he was such an expensive young player, and there are many others like him. Strikers have always been the most expensive players to buy. They're a finite commodity. And if you've not watched Hugo Ekitike play, or you haven't done your research, the levels this man can get to, you're paying for that. You're paying for that potential. Now, there's a risk, and you're right, there's a risk. It may not pay off. But I'm very similar with Benjamin Šeško. He's got to join the right club that can nurture him. But I think there's a player that's ready to just break out and suddenly start scoring a lot more goals. And I think both of these two, if they join the right teams this summer, both Ekitike and Šeško, from an output perspective, can go and will go to another level. I think they're both phenomenal. I think they're both phenomenal talents. I really, really do. Let's do a few more of your comments that are coming through here. This says, Isak agent reached out to Arsenal, hence the stall on Victor Gyökeres. Did you think so? I don't know. I'm not too sure about that one, bruv. I can't do the hand movements KJ does, but that's some anime thing. So that's what them geeks watch. I don't know what that is, but I know KJ's backstage. That's why I said it. I'm not too sure about that one, Chief. I'm not too sure about that one, my friend. Let's look at some more of your comments here. Free Isak. I keep seeing that everywhere. Okay. And by the way, I do want to say this to Newcastle fans. The bigger and better you get, the more you're going to get spoken about. I still feel like Newcastle supporters struggle with people talking about their club and their players because they're not used to it. Because for many years, I would say for a good 15 to 20 years, there was seldom a player that other people wanted. Seldom a player. Every now and then, they might, oh, he looks all right, or he looks all right. But there's not been many great player. You know, who was the last one that was hyped before the money came in? Andy Carroll? There's going to be some, and I'm forgetting them. But off the top of my head, I'm thinking Andy Carroll. Maradon here says, this is crazy to me. Ekitike has one good season. But he hasn't had one good season. He hasn't had one good season in that regard. This is a player that in his younger years in France was heavily touted, was playing brilliant football. This is a player that, although he never got the kind of opportunity. Listen, I feel that if, you know, he never got the opportunities at Paris Saint-Germain that he believed he was warranted, but that has happened to many a player. But this isn't someone that's just had a good season this year. This has been a player that, again, go and do some research on it, Maradon. Go back to 2020, 2021, 2022, and read what was being said about him. Read the match reports, read the scouting reports. Go back and watch some of those games. Highly talented player. Yes, not the most prolific, but if you watch him play, one, he facilitates brilliantly. Secondly, you can tell when watching him that more goals are certainly possible. And I think he's at that point. And we started to see it this season with 22 goals for a decent Frankfurt side. I think you're going to just start seeing that come through. we get kind of blindsided a bit, Maradon, because some strikers, like famously Michael Owen and Robbie Fowler, did this at Liverpool, and it kind of set a precedent for that age group of fan, which I think you fit into. Well, if you're not banging in goals at 18, 19, you're never going to bang in goals. But then you look at Harry Kane as an example. He wasn't the prolific Harry Kane that everybody knows and loves over the last 10 years until he was a similar age to Hugo Ekitike. But you go and look at Harry Kane now, 31 years old, right? So let's go back to when he was 21. What would that be? 2015, 2016. So that was when it was around a little bit younger, to be fair. So he wasn't quite that age, but it wasn't until he was sort of 21 that Harry Kane started to get that regular game time and started to score those goals. 2 or 3 years before that, this man was out on loan at places like Leyton Orient and Millwall and Leicester, and wasn't really ripping up trees, wasn't really killing it to the extent that everybody expected. You know, it was the 2014-15 season was his breakthrough when he was around 21, turning 22. And that was when he started to come alive. And then you get other strikers like Jamie Vardy, that it was their mid-20s when it happened. And I'm sure, I'm not a football historian, but there's loads of examples of that of play. Victor Gyökeres, that everyone's raving about. Again, later in his career, he flourished. Not everybody does it. Some players, by the way, burst onto the scene at 18. By the time they're 23, 24, they're drying up and they're not scoring goals anymore. So I don't think it is Maradon. But listen, I appreciate your opinion, mate, and I appreciate you being here. We're going to take some calls here. We've got Cal backstage. I'm going to share the link as well if anybody else wants to phone in and have their say on this deal or this potential deal, because it isn't quite agreed yet tonight. Let me share that in the live chat in case anybody wants to give us a buzz. Anybody wants to come on and have their say. Is KJ coming on, or is he just sitting backstage? What's KJ doing? I'll get my earphones on here. I never quite know what KJ is doing until I see the camera come on. Let me just check the news headlines as well in case anything's broken since I've been live that I need to talk about. Galatasaray look like they're going to do bits, you know. Just putting that out there. Galatasaray are moving mad at the minute. Moving mad. Right, Cal's here with me now to have his say. If you guys want to phone in, I'd love to hear from you, Maradon. Come on, put your camera on. Phone us up. Want to hear from you. Cal's here. What you saying, bro?
Hey, what's up? Thank you for streaming at a really good time for me as well. I think it's 11:30 there. It's like 8:30 a.m. over here. So thank you.
Nice. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good night to you, putting the midnight oil. When I first saw the price, not Cal again. Yes, it's me. You love me. I thought it was a bit of an overpay. To be honest, when I saw 95 million euros for Ekitike personally, because I think betting that much on potential is pretty high risk. But I think Liverpool probably one of the few clubs that can take that risk because of all the talent they have and all the money they make and how much in the green they are with their PSR. This is why well-run clubs can just stay at the top, because even if Frankfurt are being a bit stubborn and are demanding a lot of money, because let's be honest, everyone, 95 million euros is a lot of money. Rodrigo is quoted at 100 million euros, and then the news broke that Madrid are willing to negotiate that price. So, and that's Rodrigo, and he's not an old man. He's entering his prime, playing for Real Madrid on the left and right, winning Champions Leagues. Ekitike is he's not that guy yet, but you're still paying 95 million euros on him. And if the Liverpool scouts think he's worth that price and he's worth a punt and they can afford it, then they're doing the right thing. And let's be honest, the striker market's a bit dry. There aren't that many options. Besides Gyökeres, Isaac, Ekitike, Sesko, and João Pedro, if you want to call João Pedro an out striker. Liam Delap. It's not too many. So it's good business for Liverpool. If we did it as an Arsenal fan, if we got Ekitike for that much, I don't think we can afford to take that risk. And I'm not sure. I think Man City are probably the only other team in the league right now that could probably afford to take that risk. I don't even think Newcastle should be taking that risk just yet. To be honest, they should be trying to hold on to Isak if they could. But that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, look, I get it, and I'm just look. It's always a lot of money, but then most strike. I mean, who are the cheap options? I mean, you've got Ollie Watkins that's cheaper. They're talking 60 to 70. There's Mateta. They're saying 60 odd for him. I get some would say they're Prem proven. They've done it here. They're at a higher level right now, some would say. But then you also have got to look at the fact that, there's a long list of strikers who sort of their best years into they're maybe a little bit older when they started to become more prolific and more renowned, And I always think about I think it's Gabriel Batistuta. I think it was 23, 24-ish when he started really scoring goals as an example. Didier Drogba, and I'm maybe a year younger, maybe a year older. It felt again he flourished later in his career. Jamie Vardy. I even think Teddy Sheringham, who was around a lot, goal-wise. Again, I swear it was more his mid to late 20s when the goals started to come more frequently. So that's the one thing I would say. I think we're a little bit blindsided in the modern day game of if your numbers aren't. Haaland and Mbappe, I think, have really skewed everybody's minds a little bit in the terms of the amount of goals they had by 22, 23, 24. There was hundreds of them. It's almost like if we see a striker that hasn't done those numbers yet, we completely write them off. Where when I grew up, and numbers are important. I'm a numbers person. I like numbers, but sometimes you watch a player and you can think, oh, do you know what? With the right service in the right areas. That's how Harry Kane got his chance. Harry Kane wasn't scoring goals when he was on loan at all these smaller clubs, but yet Spurs still gave him a chance. Why? Because they could see that in a better team with the right service, he could bang goals in. Does that make sense? They didn't go, you went to Orient and only scored one goal in a year. That means you're crap. It doesn't always work that way. And I just think Ekitike is so gifted on the ball. The money ain't offending me too much, but I do hear you. You must be happier though that it looks like it's not going to be Isak, or do you still think there's a sting in that? No. Do you still think there's a sting in that towel after what Eddie Howe said today? You think that's dead now?
No, I think that's completely dead because I don't think Liverpool would be negotiating this much with Frankfurt. They put in a bid, it didn't get accepted, and they put in another bid. They've bid like twice since Liverpool put in their first bid. You don't do that if you don't want the player, if you're just playing mind games. We were playing mind games with Sesko and Gyökeres. We never put in a bid for Sesko.
Mm.
We never got into the point where we're actually putting money on the table. It was just, Arsenal are interested. We're in early stages. We never even agreed. We never agreed with Sesko's agent. We never agreed with that camp a deal for him, and we never dealed on the club side. So we didn't get anything done with Sesko, club side or player side, nothing. So if that's that makes more sense to me because it's just not non-official talks. But with Liverpool, they're actually getting agreement side with the player, getting that sorted, complete, done and dusted, and then putting in proper bids again and again and again for Ekitike. I think they've washed their hands with the Isak thing. So it's just too much. The business is too far progressed and it's too official for me to think that they're just gonna drop Ekitike and get Isak. If they were to get Isak, it'd be trying to get them both. It wouldn't be. They wouldn't. I don't think they're gonna drop Ekitike.
Yeah, I hear you. And there's a super chat here that's just made me realize something. Ekitike backwards is still Ekitike. He's a baller. That's got a word. That's got a name, isn't it? When a word does that, a pala. Is it? I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna say this wrong and look stupid, like a pala.
I don't even know the word.
Or palindrome or palindrome or something like that.
Something like that.
Let us know, smart people in the comment section. Let us know.
Palindrome. Palindrome. Okay, everyone's saying something different.
Yeah, that's what.
Palindrome.
Palindrome's come up a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't heard that word in years, but so when someone super chatted when someone super chatted saying it's the same backwards, I was like, oh, what's that called? What is that called? I nearly said, because I'm stupid, oh, yeah, his name's ambidextrous. That was the first word that goes to my head. And I knew it wasn't that. And I was like, oh, what is this? What's going on here? What's going on? But yeah, the word is palad. Okay, there we go. Thank you, KJ. KJ's doing that behind the scenes for us. Newcastle without Isak. Who do you reckon they replace him with? There is no chance.
Yeah, there's Mateta, maybe? They're going for him. Wissa. But if you guys already got Mbomo, so probably not. I don't know.
I think Brentford will sell. I mean, that they, as a club, I think there was something fairly official they put out where they were like, we bought Watkins and Burmo and somebody else. Maybe it was Ivan Toney. And like, we bought them for a combined £10.5 million. We sold them for like 200 million combined or whatever it was. Maybe less than that, but 150. And there's almost like this celebratory thing. The thing with someone like a Brentford, as much as they won't want to get relegated from the Premier League, there is also this view of if we could sell Visser and get 70 million, it's all profit at this stage because they've more than paid off his transfer. To these, this is what I know they get big TV money, but this is how these clubs keep going. There's so many clubs. This is why I've had so many debates before. We spoke about it earlier. I can't judge all clubs with the same by the same standards because some literally their business people think, oh, you just develop players and buy players to sell them on for profit. That's how they keep their club growing. That's over time how they increase their revenue because Brentford, theoretically, if they got a new owner that was worth billions and had a lot of power in a certain region of the world. So it was a really rich American or a really rich, I don't fucking Argentinian or a really rich Australian or something, somebody from China, and they could sort of introduce the club to that market and to get massive companies from those regions to sponsor it so that club starts getting seen more around the world. You could grow the global fan base, which would grow the income. It is plausible. Man City have done it. They were a tiny club until the Sheikh came in. So it is plausible. Outside of that, there's no way in the next 100 years Brentford could touch a Liverpool, a Man United, an Arsenal, a Chelsea in terms of revenue just by normal growth based on the fact they're in London and London's massive, but there's already so many teams. You got to remember their new stadium, which is nice. I think it only costs 70 to 80 million pounds to build. When these other clubs, like the Spurs, are building stadiums, it's £1 billion project. So I think they would sell Wissa. Bring this all back round. I think they would sell Wissa because for them, they would trust their scouting because they're a bit like Brighton. They trust their scouting to go, right, we'll go back out into the market and we'll find the next 2 or 3 guys that are 5, 10, 12 million that in 3 years, 4 years time. And they've done a very good job of finding those players and doing them. When they lost Tony, a lot of people thought they'd fall off. You just saw Vista and Mbumo go to the next level. But yeah,
I'm not seeing them do any business though. I'm not seeing.
Yeah, they haven't done anything yet. Yeah, not a lot yet.
I can't believe we got their captain. Like we got their captain for like no money. They're getting gutted, and I'm not seeing them do anything. And I know like what you said makes sense from the business side, but just feeling for the fans, like I wouldn't want my club to kind of lose all our players and then not seeing my club do any business, So shout out to the Brentford fans, man.
No, I hear that. Yeah, they've got to start doing some. There's no doubt about that. And Burmo well overpriced. He's 55 million max.
Nah, Mbomo is not overpriced. He's not overpriced. Nah, no way.
Yeah, 65 million. I'm okay. I watched my team play today, and suddenly I was like, "Yeah, I'm all right with that. We need more players. We need more players." I watched this play today.
I watched the extended highlights, and was it Leeds?
Leeds, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't look too bad actually. They were actually doing tiki-taka passes through United. And that's not just because United are bad or whatever. Just they were playing good football. So I don't know.
Yeah, they're playing nice football. They didn't really penetrate. A couple of counters in the second half. They didn't do too much in the first. We a bit sloppy. It's a weird game to judge, really. Like there was a few moments where we did really good things and we turned them in midfield. I think 4 times in 10 minutes, Ampadu grabbed the player and dragged him to the floor. So one thing I would say where you've got to watch preseason carefully, because he wasn't booked. And if it was a real game, he'd have been booked for the first one. And the
Yeah.
next 2 or 3 times we did it, we'd have broke away. And that's why they're hard to judge sometimes, because they're not like normal matches. And then the second half, both teams make 11 changes. It is hard to assess, but we need some. One thing I will say for sure is we need some pace in that. We need more pace across the board. But that midfield, it looked techie. It looked really, really techie indeed. This here says Jossa's life insurance from the club is going to Jossa's family. What they're paying the covering of the player's valuation as well. Well, fair play if they do it. They have to give it all to him.
That's fantastic.
That's great if they're doing that. Fair play to him.
Liverpool class, 100% class.
I saw Ekitike play against Spurs in the Europa League last year, and he didn't impress me. But let's see how things turn out for Liverpool. Yeah, listen, and these things happen, and that's the problem though. When you sometimes watch a player and I'm going to watch Ekitike today, see how he does. Players have and always will have bad games. There would have been matches where if you had a person that's never watched football before and said, "Look, come and watch Barca," right? You're going to see this player called Lionel Messi play, blow your socks off. There were some games where if it was a random game that somebody watched, they'd have gone, "Oh, yeah, I weren't impressed with him today. It was rubbish," because even Messi had bad games. And I watched Ekitike quite a few times last year, and I was just every time I saw him, I was impressed. Funnily enough, I didn't actually see the games against Spurs that much because I was so focused on Man United games, so I didn't really see them. But I would suggest people go back and read what's been said about this kid for the past 4 or 5 years. And I think it will, the money you still might think is overpriced, but I still think there's a really, really talented player in there, a really, really talented player. What's happening with the Gyökeres deal? We're talking about this on tomorrow morning's show, but essentially all that's happening is there's a deliberation over around £2.5 million, something to do with add-ons. Some of the Portuguese press has been weird. Excuse me, today. They've been talking about maybe the deal dying, but that's kind of been a narrative for a week that's been played down.
That's funniest,
no. The funniest story is about his dad breaking down.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, maybe he's an Arsenal fan. I don't know.
Yeah, I just quote tweeted and said, "Fuck off." I said, I just don't believe any of that nonsense. It's just this is the boring part of a transfer that nobody likes at all. It's not fun. It isn't sexy. Fans are I know everyone wanted him to go on the tour, but did you see what was also printed earlier on today? Or put out earlier on today. Let me read it out to you when I find it.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Is it
about his training?
Yes. It came only because we spoke about it earlier. He's got a personal trainer in. He's going to come in. He's not going to turn up to Arsenal's training camp overweight and not ready to go. He's going to be. He's in that shape. I don't think you've got the determination to leave like he wants to, and I don't think someone like that turns up unprepared. Does that make? I think someone like that. He feels like he's just gonna be like he's just a bull, just bucking, and once that thing raises, he just wants to go firing. What I did like about that one is they said that Arsenal gave him like a personal things that they wanted him to work on. Fabrizio has just put a video out saying that Hugo Ekitike to Liverpool is close. It's close. So
here we go soon.
Yeah, here we go. Is going to drop on that one soon, and then we see what happens. I also want another striker taken off the market, and another. I want your one to actually just. Well, I wouldn't mind your one falling through, and then maybe it gives us a chance to get him. But I also think it helps Man United with when Ekitike goes, if and when he goes, if and when Gyökeres goes, which they all should. Because I still think with maybe some of our targets, because there's links of Mateta to Liverpool if things go right. There's links of. Šeško might also be sitting there and going, if this bloody deal with Gyökeres does fall through, if Arsenal lose their patience and walk away, maybe. So I just sort of need those deals to finalize because it lets everybody else know where they stand striker wise. So, yeah.
Also, based on Ekitike's price, I think Leipzig are probably going to hold fast with the 90 million evaluation because of Ekitike's 95. I think any chance of them trying to negotiate lower because I think they will trap the folding. I think Liverpool just going out there and getting Ekitike for that price. They're going, our player is just as good as Ekitike, if not better. We're sticking to our 90 million evaluation. So I think you guys, Manchester United, probably have a less likely chance of getting him now because of the Ekitike deal, in my opinion. And not because the player is not willing to go, but because of the finances. I'm still not 100% sure what Manchester United finances look like, but it feels like you guys are kind of limited this summer in certain aspects. So I don't think you guys could probably afford 90 million for Šeško. And the thing about the Šeško deal, which is why we didn't go for him as well, is that Leipzig want the bulk of that money up front. And this is why we couldn't negotiate with them. I think they wanted like 50 million now.
Yeah,
and the rest
there's just no way. Man United, like, we ain't got no money for that, so we're not going to be doing that. No, I agree. Look, everyone, look, we're going to be back tomorrow morning around 10:30, 10:45. There'll probably be some updates on this. There'll be some updates on some other deals as well. So make sure you're all joining us back here then. For everyone who's tuned in, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.